So I am just about to cross 100 subscribers, and I know that's a tiny number and it doesn't mean anything to most people, but for me, I started this channel because I was going through some severe anxiety attacks during the lockdown, and I honestly felt like I was going to die. And making these videos was really helpful because it sort of allowed me to connect with the world, and it took me out of my comfort zone. It was something that I hadn't done before. It was absolutely disconnected from my work, and yet it gave me something tangible at the end of it, so it felt like I was being productive. And it really is something that I had to do for myself, and so I don't even really promote this channel. I don't really talk about it on my social media except for, the Insta account that's linked to this channel. So it kind of feels like everybody that's found this channel has found it because they're interested in the same things that I am, and I'm sort of discovering a whole new tribe of people, and it feels good. It reminds me of the early days of blogging, for example. Sort of giving away my age here. But one of the reasons why I became such a big fan of the internet and why I ended up sort of spending all my time online is because when I was blogging, I really did discover a community, and they're still friends of mine to this day. Some of them I've known for 20 years, and it really is something that I've missed from my life. And being here on YouTube and just coming to know all of you, most of you, like I said, by accident because you stumbled across my page or because I stumbled across your channel, it really is one of the best things that's happened to me all year. And I just wanted to thank all of you for subscribing, for commenting, for just watching me blather on about the weirdest things that I know that very few people care about, but are just very integral to who I am. And to celebrate, I wanted to do this video, which is the 20 book questions tag that I first saw on Rosie's channel. And I'm gonna link down below to Rosie's video, which is really fun and you should check it out. And as far as I can tell, it originated on GOODREADS, and somebody was bored and they just came up with it. I'm gonna link down to them as well. And Rosie's right, these are questions that are particularly good for a booktube because it really does tell you more about a person's bookish taste, which is obviously more pertinent to a booktube. So hi, my name is Amrita. If you're here for the first time, then this is my booktube. Please feel free to take a look around my channel. And in the meantime, here are some questions and answers for you to know me better. So the first question is, how many books is too many books in a book series? And the answer to that is there is no such thing. If a book series is being unnecessarily prolonged in order to turn it into a cash cow, then yes, that's too many books in a series. But otherwise, a story takes as many books as it takes. I learned that by reading the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, which is, I think, 14 books in the main order, plus prequels, and then, Brandon Sanderson wrote a couple of short stories, and there are deleted scenes floating about on the internet, plus all the theories and all the fan art and fanfic, and it's pretty great. If I fall in love with a world, then I want to see and hear more about it. Just not in the way that, say, J.K. Rowling does it, where, she's scrolling through her Twitter about 20 years later and then she goes, oh, you know what Harry feared and hated more than Voldemort? Trans women. Nobody needs that nonsense. How do you feel about cliffhangers? I don't mind them. But sometimes, if a book comes out, say, after a couple of years or something, then I might not remember what the cliffhanger was. But I think it works if you have, a cliffhanger at the end of a series that's just moving really quickly. But is it necessary? I don't really think so. Hard copy or paperback? Paperback, but ebooks, really. Hard copies are for very specific kinds of books. These are books that I would probably never take out of the house because I'm somebody that really hates carrying a bag, and I definitely don't want a packet full of a book that weighs a couple of kilos. Yet, my life is spent out of my home and I spend so much time in other environments, and I'd like to have my books easily available, which is why I really like ebooks. But if I had to choose, I'd choose a paperback. What's my favorite book? I don't have one. I have a whole bunch of different favorite books. So I'm going to just link up to a couple of books that I've recommended. And these are just books that I have read in the recent past. But, just take a look around my channel. I keep talking about books that I love. Least favorite book. I'm sure there are many, but the one that always comes to mind is Eat, Pray, Love. I hate that book in so many ways, and I hate the movie, and it's just... The whole point of a memoir or of a book like that is to make you feel for the main protagonist. And she is so unlikable to me. She's entitled and dramatic and just a horrible person. And she has this genius of going to a different culture and sort of reducing it into its bare stereotypes. And I'm sure that wasn't her intention and she thought she was doing a better job of it, but my cousin recommended that I read it while he was going through his divorce, and he was reading it and I think he was having a good time with it. Maybe I should get divorced and I would feel better about this book. Love triangles, yes or no? An emphatic no. I can't think of a single love triangle that made me feel good. It's completely unnecessary. I find it annoying in real life. I don't need to read it in a book. The most recent book I couldn't finish, that would have to be Portraits by John Berger on Artists. I really like the concept of the book, and I'll probably go back and finish it at some point because it is something that I'm interested in. So John Berger is an art critic and he writes about art, and this book is sort of him going through centuries of art and sort of talking about it and how to look at it in a new way. I started this book right before the lockdown began, and then my head just exploded and I just couldn't do it. A book I'm currently reading would be Six of Crows. So I'm one of those people that reads multiple books at a time, but this is my big book because it's for book club, and it's by Leigh Bardugo, and I have spoken before about her Shadow and Bone, but I am hoping for better things with this book. Fingers crossed. The last book I recommended to someone, I think it's Boyfriend Material, but that isn't a book that I've read as yet. It's just one that I've heard really good things about. The last book that I recommended that I really loved and have read myself would be Gideon the Ninth. You should check out my review up there. I am obsessed. The oldest book I've read by publication date. This is a sort of unfair question to be asking an Indian because we all grew up reading some really seriously ancient literature for class. So I guess it would be either the Ramayana or the Mahabharata in Sanskrit. The newest book I've read by publication date would have to be Mexican Gothic. I've just begun, and again, it's for book club, but also it's been on my TBR list for a while. I really love the author, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it. Favorite author? I mean, if I wouldn't choose a favorite book, then I'm sure as hell not going to choose a favorite author. But what I do have is a list of authors whom I love, and it's called Binge, and I'm going to link to the playlist above, and it's going to be updated as time goes on. Buying books or borrowing books? I love the library. When I was about 9 or so, my auntie took me to the library in the town that my family's from and got me my first library card, and I was so happy. It is still the best gift that anyone's ever given me, and generally when I move to a new country, the first thing I do is, or one of the first things I do, the first thing would obviously be banking and phones and things. But one of the first things I do is check out if they have a good library, and if there is, then I'll always get my card. A book I dislike that everyone else seems to love. I feel there are a lot of these books, but I think the latest that I spoke about was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I just hope I'm not cancelled. Bookmarks or dog ears? Always bookmarks. Actually, I don't even bookmark. I just memorize the page number, and I have a really good short-term memory, so I just go back and read that. Never dog ears. I remember I once lent a very good friend of mine a book, and when I got it back, it was like she had run it over with her car. I have no idea what people do to their books. Breaking the spine is one thing, but what on earth are you doing to the book? Are you beating it? Just beat the story out of it? Stop! What is a book that you can always reread? It would have to be The Wheel of Time. I don't know how many times I've reread that series. Can you read while listening to music? So a fun thing about me is that when I start concentrating on things, I can absolutely block everything out. You could be having an entire discussion in front of me and I wouldn't know a word that you had said. So yes, I can absolutely read with the music on, but do I like to read with the music on? No. When I'm listening to music, I listen to music. When I read, I read. Books with a single point of view or multiple points of view. It really doesn't matter to me, it doesn't impair my enjoyment in any way. Do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? I think the answer to this was more simple when it wasn't the pandemic, because obviously when you have to leave the house to go work or to socialize or to the gym or to travel, then you can't just sit in one place and finish a book. There are always demands on your time and on your attention. But since the pandemic, it's been a lot easier to just carve out a period of time and just sit somewhere and finish a book, which is what I used to do when I was young. So my family used to take these siestas, and in the summer vacations, the entire household would be asleep between, say, 2 in the afternoon to about 4. And for those 2 hours, I would just sit and finish book after book after book. So in a way, it's been nice to sort of rediscover that part of myself. I didn't know that I had the ability or the capacity to give that kind of attention to a book left in me, but apparently I do. And lastly, who do I tag? I don't have any specific people, I think, but I'm going to lay this open to whoever wants to do it. It's a really fun tag, and I feel like there are multiple people who would be really good at it. So if you see this video and you feel like this is you, then I tag you. For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.